Previously on Coming Out of the Cosmic Closet.
So this massive energy pours in, and then my head drops, and then it just picks up, and then this big booming voice came out of me and was like, "We are here, and we're here to like change the planet, and you are going to help us." And I would encourage, if people want to develop their skills, go, okay, well, where am I already pretty strong?
Yeah.
You know, am I a painter? I'm really visual. Am I a musician? You know, am I tuned to music and tonality? And that's it. You're already well tuned on that level.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone has a special gift. Mine? The circle of light. They speak through me, and they're here to assist the planet's evolution to a more enlightened space. And for some reason, they chose me, a raunchy comedian, to be their vessel. I used to be secretive about my ability, but now it's time to come out of the cosmic closet, and you should too. My name is Georgia Jean, and these are my crazy stories. Warning. The concepts and energies and frequencies in this podcast are designed to short-circuit the egoic mind. For some people, this can create sleepiness, drowsiness, a trance-like state. So if you're listening to this and you start feeling any of those things, it's a thing. If you're driving a car or operating heavy machinery or doing anything like that you shouldn't be in a trance in, make sure you turn this podcast off for now and come back when you can listen to it in a more relaxed state. Hey, all you adventures into this crazy cosmic space. We are inviting you all back, and we're also inviting those of you who maybe aren't that into this stuff. Why don't you listen anyway, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it'll
everyone.
Yes, for everybody. Just think of it as fun stories.
Yep.
Or be open to having your mind a little opened up, or just hate on us. No, don't hate on us. Don't hate on us.
If nothing else, George is a great storyteller. Come for the stories.
Come for the stories.
Did I ever tell you?
I do love a story.
Oh, God, what is she going to say?
Here we go. Well, they do say that storytelling is one of the best ways for people to learn about things. It activates some part of the primal
I believe
mind.
that. Yeah, because you could see the picture playing out.
Yeah, you can see and it's interesting because in the work that I do with people, we're all about getting rid of the stories of our mind.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's like the bullshit stories.
Yeah, that's the bullshit stories.
Yeah.
It's all the like, you can't do this because,
you dropped that thing in front of that boy in third grade.
Yeah. And now no one's ever going to love you. Drop the story. Drop the story. Drop the story. So I do find it interesting, though, that I love to tell stories, but hopefully they are like a little bit informative as well, or something, at least entertaining, for crying out loud.
Totally entertaining.
This podcast format is actually wonderful because it does give us the space to have a discussion, tell stories, be more philosophical, not just like selling products and, like late night talk show where it's just, hey, you're here, you're in a movie, it's great, and here's one anecdote we came up with. We
right, we can fit it into this 2-minute interview.
Yeah, which is cool. But the podcast space, which I think is why people in general are getting really drawn to podcasts, because after this kind of like fast food entertainment, people are intellectually or creatively starved, and they're seeking out stuff that can help them explore their whatever form of consciousness it is.
Yeah.
More. Like if you're into music, like life isn't a 2-minute pop song in the music world. There's amazing stories behind people who are making music, or, if you're into literature, I think it's really filling a space that mainstream media, I don't want to be like a
this world of like quick cuts and swivel over here, party over there.
Yeah, just like
I just want to sit down and like
be like absorbed into the world again.
Yeah. I know. My dad said he never listened to a podcast the other day. And he's a musician in the small sense of the word, but plays guitar and plays banjo. And I was like, what? Pick a topic. And there's probably a million podcasts on playing the guitar, playing the banjo.
Totally. And you don't even have to be interested in it either. So for podcasts to be interesting, like I've listened.
True.
I do enjoy a bit of a serial killer podcast, I have to say, because I'm fascinated with, human consciousness and like what is going on with someone that they want to chop people up into bits or, I mean, there's some fascinating stories out there where there was one girl, I think it's Happy Face, where this girl finds out her dad's a serial killer, and how does she process her experience of life now through this viewfinder of her dad being a serial killer? I mean, this is fascinating. In the last episodes I was talking about parents and, my dad passing, and, we all have to kind of develop a relationship to the psychology of our upbringing as part of our exploration of consciousness. And for us to be healed in our consciousness in a way, or be actually like even an open channel vessel. Like in my work, I have to clear my psychology constantly.
Yeah.
So it can be an open vessel.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine, like,
oh my gosh.
I mean, Dad never told me he loved me, but boo-hoo. Like, this chick's dad was a serial killer. Oh, bless her.
Yeah.
For like surviving in coming through that. So yeah, that's my
well, and that's like what we were talking about off the mics. When you get to that point, for me, it was like, I don't know, maybe between age 18 and 20, when you realize your parents are flawed humans, just like everyone else. And it's not me. Like, been that one person that you've gone to, or two people that you've gone to your whole life. When shit hits the fan and whatever, you need to, you need that rock, you go to your parents. But then as you get older, and their advice doesn't always resonate. And you're like, oh, wait, they don't know shit.
Well,
Now what do I do?
Well, and you have to take them off the pedestal or the hellhole of either God or flawed God, which is a lot of what childhood projections are about, like, oh, they didn't do everything perfectly and now they're just, they must be all bad. Right. They're not all good and perfect.
Sure.
They're all bad and terrible. And, develop some, and I think it happens at 18. It happens,
I mean, that was just me, but it could happen.
But it keeps happening.
Right,
I mean, even like as you're getting older too, like as you start to approach different turning points in age, you're like, oh, damn, like this was the age where my parents were supposed to be really wise at 40. And you're like, it's like, still got like credit card debt and like, what did we expect from these people that they were going to do this fantastic job? And that's where everybody's going to take charge of their consciousness at a certain point.
And also have compassion, learn their story, and understand, why they tell you the things they tell you and what they know. Yeah, and just
and why they certain levels of information are withheld, like to a certain stage in life. Like it didn't dawn on me until my really like. I'm not going to reveal my age yet. But let's just say 5 years ago, to really start asking like my dad, because we had the story of, parents divorced and my mum had an illness, and that's like the story. It didn't dawn on me to actually start asking my dad, well, who were you when you were 18? Like, what did you,
because he was always dad, mom was always mom.
Yeah. And then there's this sort of mythology about who they are and what they should or shouldn't be doing, and what they did or didn't do.
Like, but it's you were someone's son.
Oh, yeah. Who were you when you were 10? And I think that's like, and then we can start understanding them just in the same way as we start understanding ourselves when we go, oh, well, my childhood made this of me or that. Well, and even sometimes it's beyond like reconciling what their childhoods were about. Like, did they come from an alcoholic or abused family? But then actually, who were you as you were forming yourself? For me, became really interesting. Like when you left your family and you started going to dances and started being like a young adult. And what did you love?
What were you into?
What were you into?
Love? Yeah.
Before you became a husband or a wife or a parent, you know, who were you? Because we live in an age now where we get to explore ourselves for much longer than a lot of our parents did. You know, a lot of people get married way later.
Yeah.
Or people get divorced and then they go on this kind of soul searching, like, who am I phase, which was not a luxury that a lot of people from these older generations had.
Right.
And that's when we also go, wow, the boomers, you know, you've just used all the resources and you're like kind of assholes about it. But, you know, I think generations before, some of the younger generations that are coming in, didn't have the luxury of self-exploration. And maybe, you know, I'm like, no judge. I'm always just like, let's not get too judgy either way on everybody.
Right.
Like, and it's like them being like, well, the millennials don't know how to work, but they're bringing all this consciousness in different levels, and they're having, I believe, more luxury. And they also just speak that way. My younger friends talk about working on themselves when that was just a, you know, a twinkle in the eye of consciousness, like young people working on themselves. No. You didn't work on yourselves. So you're getting shoveled into like a coal mine or into, you know, like, wait, I'm going to do my self-care mantra before I you know, go work in this factory for whatever. So we got to go like a little compassion, passion all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what this sort of shift of consciousness is about.
Yeah, what is this shift in consciousness and bending the matrix?
Yeah.
Break it down. Well, don't break it down, but like break it down.
I kind of got to break it down a little bit. I'm going to get all the cosmic information I've been receiving from the circle.
It's just a big question. It's a big question. So I'm like, don't break it down. I don't want to know everything, but
a bit.
Let's start somewhere.
We got to get into it somewhere, because that's really, you know, when the circle of light blasted into my life. And if you haven't listened to that introductory story, do go back to episode 1 and 2 of this podcast, where we go into the event that I had where this group of non-physical collective blasted in and started speaking through me. Super weird. Yeah, I get it. It's super weird. But that's like what happened, right? So they blasted in, and they're like, we're here to help humanity go through a shift in consciousness, an evolutionary shift.
Do you feel like it's a human energy?
The beings that are coming in?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It's everything. Okay, try and think about it. It's like cross pollinating. Mm-hmm. It's all consciousness. Like, at the end of the day, everything is consciousness. Yeah. And when we start going into talking about bending the matrix, which may happen this episode or soon, what you're accessing then is what we call the all consciousness, which is the recognition that you are everything and everything is you, but taken to this really like, oh, that's not just like a nice thing you write on a T-shirt, kind of like, hey, we're all one. Yeah. It's like everything is me. Therefore, I take responsibility for everything in creation.
So this might be a dumb question, but that just refers to nature, right? Like things that are alive, like not this fucking couch and...
No, everything. It includes everything.
What?
Yeah, it includes... I know, so we won't get into that right now with that what. Because let's talk about the shift of consciousness.
Let's just know that.
Let's just know that we're going to talk about the all consciousness stuff, which is big, but it does give you the power to bend the matrix.
Okay.
So the shift in consciousness is basically like, it's just an evolutionary shift that is happening. So even when humanity came in, we were cave dudes, hunkering. Even before we were cave dudes, there was amoebas, and then something else happened, happened. And so there were shifts in consciousness that brought in new capacities, new abilities. Like there was grunting, and then there was speech, and there was, there was raw meat, and then there was fire, and there was cooked meat, So you have all these kind of like micro shifts which is just the evolutionary process. But every now and then you have these kind of massive shifts in consciousness. And in the past, like if you're really going to get down the rabbit hole, the planet Earth is like a stage. It's a theater. This is all from the Circle of Light, by the way. So again, you can pop on over to my website, circleevolution.com, and listen to some of these recordings that I get from the Circle of Light. It's not just me kind of going, I'm just going to, this is my theory on
listen up. Stage.
This is what I reckon, right? This is the information I've got.
Downloaded information
that a lot of other people receive too, if you like look into it. But so, Earth is a stage, and we have different shows play on Earth. And in the past, you had the theater of Earth inhabited. So this is probably where like Atlantis comes from. It was one type of play, and it was one sort of type of consciousness that was operating then. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the run of that show, things used to kind of get blown up, right? And that's why I think biblically we have the story of Noah's Ark. It's just like blow up Atlantis, bring in the water, reset. But maybe there's some elements of that civilization that survived or remained and perhaps seeded certain elements of consciousness. Mm-hmm. I know all you anthropologists out there are just losing your shit right now about but I'm talking about creative consciousness, which is how reality is created in these broad strokes of energy, and it doesn't always follow linear time and space. Mm-hmm. Because linear time and space is one of the elements of our consciousness, of human consciousness. We believe in the programming of our mind, and we then project that onto everything that is out in the universe, that everything operates in linear time and space, that A plus B equals C, that, Melissa's over there and I'm over here. But what you start understanding is that's just the program. That isn't the answer to everything of everything. Not everything is in all of creation is operating under this precept of linear time and space. Mm-hmm. It's what we have been generally agreeing upon is what reality is through the human construct. So the human construct, if I was going to sum it up, the circle to sum it up, has been a primitive mind driven, which means we are deeply driven by survival programming, right? Hunters and gatherers, you versus me, blah, blah, blah. This is what we've got to do to survive. I've got to kill meat and eat it. I've got to kill enemies and destroy them. We've got to gather enough berries. We're going to talk all about this stuff because it's super like crazy stuff to get into. But primitive mind, linear time-space reality, contracted consciousness. So that is the collective agreement of what humanity operates under. But guess what, humans? We ain't all that. Like, we are not everything. And out there in the broad spectrum of all creation, there are other shows going on that do not operate under those premises. So it's kind of like, if you're a cop show, like, think about it like this. This is the best way a simple way to understand what's going on with consciousness. You've got TV shows, you've got networks, and then you've got collections of networks, right?
Yep.
So human consciousness is kind of like a cop show, right? Good guys and bad guys.
Sure.
Polarity. Oh, sorry, it's polarity driven as well. So it's polarity driven. Good and bad, right and wrong, true and false, us and them. Right? So we've got polarity driven, there's the good guys, there's the bad guys. This crime happened, these were the events, the linear, course of events of why this happened, cause and effect. But what is happening now So you might you've got a network that shows all cop shows. So like that's one type of kind of universe that's out there, right? But then you've got science fiction. That's a different type of show. So in science fiction, there is parallel realities. There is all this stuff that doesn't operate through linear time and space. Mm-hmm. So that's why, and I get mind blown when it isn't just like the watching shows like Sense8 and The Matrix are exploring, and I tell you, that show The Fringe, so I've got to talk to J.J. Abrams, Lost. These shows start talking about parallel realities, blended realities, all this sort of stuff, the intersection between multiple realities and multiple dimensions.
I was just going to say, we're talking about multiple dimensions.
We're talking about multiple dimensions. So not everything's operating through this linear cause and effect. Like if I want to go to the bathroom, I'm going to get up and walk over there and get into the bathroom, and that's how I'm going to do it. Linear time and space, and there's no other options.
But in another dimension, you stayed on the couch and was just like, oh, I really have to pee. I'm just going to hold it.
Well, or it just, the pee evaporated. I don't know. In another dimension, I might be like...
Oh, okay, because that's the linear.
Yeah, so that would still be linear.
You're not going to have two linear dimensions.
That would be similar. God, get with that would be... So what you're talking about then is actually a parallel reality of a similar linear reality. Are you
Georgia,
sticking with us?
She just saw my mind get blown, but you couldn't see it, but she saw it.
Yeah. So in Melissa's example, so right now I've got two options. I'm going to get up and go to the bathroom. I could have picked like a more glamorous choice for this analogy, but it's a good one. Or I sit here and I really need to pee.
Yep.
These are my two choices, right? And they're pretty set. Mm-hmm. And in one reality, now we're getting a little multidimensional. In one reality, I went to the bathroom. In another reality, I sat here and held on to it, and then I explored what happened with that. And in another reality, maybe I just peed my pants, and then I explored what happened by pursuing that choice. So each kind of in this example that you're talking about, where we're just talking about basic parallel realities, at each choice point, I had options, and whatever choice I chose at that moment opened up the next part of the story.
Sure, yeah.
So Melissa's relationship to me, if I went to the bathroom, fine, right? Mm-hmm. Let's just say I was only like doing a pee, you know?
Yeah.
Which, anyway, whatever. But anyway, so, and then Melissa's going to go, yeah, Georgia, she's cool. She knows how to use the bathroom. She's welcome back.
Yeah.
In option 2, I sit here and I'm holding on to the pee and I'm being polite and getting fidgety. And this, honestly, actually, it's kind of an interesting thing, because as a child, I would be very nervous about drawing attention to myself. Mm-hmm. So I might have just sat here and held on and got more uncomfortable and less engaged with what's happening and in my head. And like, if I get up and I might kick something over and then people will see me and I'll be embarrassed and all my shame files are active. Mm-hmm. Like the version of me that just goes to the toilet, goes to the bathroom. In Australia, we say toilet, like that's where the room is. It's not like I'm just going to the toilet on the floor. I go to the bathroom. That version of me might be actually more evolved than the holder, right? It's like, it's cool. I'm safe to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right? I can
You're taking care of yourself.
I'm taking care of myself. I can draw attention to myself. I can go to the bathroom. The little kid that's like hanging on, like, oh, I'm scared, is still maybe operating from some fear or shame. And the one that just takes the pee, like, whatever, gotta go.
Fuck this couch.
Yeah, like Melissa may never have me back at her house, so I would live out those consequences, or we would laugh. Or maybe little girl too, who needs to pee, has a turning point where she's like, I got to go to the bathroom, I'm going to go. Mm-hmm. Or a little girl pees on the couch. All these options. So but each of those have a pretty linear cause and effect storyline. If I pee on the couch, probably Melissa's not going to have me over again. It's linear. Multidimensional, now if we're getting really like out there, like what could be another multidimensional solution, could be like, I feel like I need to pee, but because I know how to bend the matrix of time and space and I know that my body is an illusion, I'm able to purify the energy that is in that creation of waste and recycle it and actually give myself more energy without ever having to go to the bathroom.
You can do that?
I'm working on it.
But like, that's a reality for some people?
Well, I think when you talk about, there's definitely people out there in those, like those Tibetan,
Yeah.
and I don't want to sound too out there, but if I was sitting here, let's say I'm in girl number 2, if I was sitting here and there was some reason why I couldn't go to the bathroom, I could work my consciousness enough to at least, alleviate the feeling that I need to go to the bathroom. Transform the feeling, because it is all just energy.
Right.
So what might create a sense of urgency? For example, so little girl who needs to pee, it's getting more urgent. Now the fear, the worry of shame that maybe I'm going to pee my pants or that someone's going to see me. If I process those emotions and I process the psychology of that, I can transcend the illusion of all of those negative outcomes that could have happened in that case. Yeah. And this is where we start moving into this idea of bending the matrix, because what that is that you're acknowledging, even though our mind may say there's only one reality going on, and it's going to play out in this way. What is happening now with the shift of consciousness is we are thinning the veil of reality to allow ourselves to access multiple dimensions and multiple possibilities with far more ease. And when you're able to do that, it starts looking really magical. Wow. So let's say I really want to, I kind of want to get off the pee exam.
Yeah.
We'll talk about my football team.
Yeah.
We'll talk about my football team. So here is an example, right? This is a big one. So,
and P.S., I was with Georgia recently watching football, and she was a different. I've known you a long time.
Yeah.
Never seen this side of you. Proceed.
So I am an Australian rules football. I love my team, the Richmond Tigers. I love them so much. I love them. And a lot of it is emotional because my dad and I used to go and watch the football together. And I'm talking about the story of my dad's passing. We buried him with the Richmond Tigers scarf. We played the Tigers song as they put him into the ground.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And we poured wine on him because he owned a vineyard, not because we disrespected him. And the Tigers were a big, and I think this is we'll have to talk about sport, because sport is a really interesting part of our culture and consciousness. And I do think it is the place where we get to play out some of our primitive mind survival programming in actually a really healthy and really wonderful way. So when people are like anti-sport, and why men, I think, are really drawn to sport is it helps them connect to this kind of consciousness of actually a positive masculinity, strength, and this sort of like survival energy, but channeled in a new way, in an upgraded way. So back in the caves, people were like killing people, when there was war. Wouldn't you rather have football than war?
Yeah.
Like I would rather have football than war. But
I do just want to say, like, I think people, like, I don't pay attention to sports at all. But because I'm not in that world, when I hear the stories about, fights going from being in the stands out into the parking lot and,
right,
opposing teams killing other,
right,
so there's that too. That
yes, yeah,
which isn't that common, but it has happened, and
people get riled up because you are in a.
I don't just want to gloss over.
No. Like, there's definitely. Well, with like most aspects of consciousness, it's up to each of us to, and I would even say, so here now I'm going to get multidimensional with you on that projection, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be big. So when you go back to accepting that everything in your creation is your creation, that brawling bunch of people at a football match is you.
Girl.
It's part of your consciousness that's probably unintegrated if you've got judgment.
Yep.
And this is the really big thing about going through an evolutionary shift where we're going from a primitive mind survival consciousness. We have it in our human DNA, in our biology. We have this programming and we're shifting out of it. We're moving out of it because the primitive mind, survival mind, is the most contracted aspect of our consciousness, right? So part of the reason why I took up skydiving is because a big speciality of my work with the Circle of Light is about overcoming survival consciousness and becoming liberated. So the best way for me to understand how survival consciousness was affecting my thinking and my behavior and my nervous system was literally to go and jump out of planes. So we will talk about that more another time. So we've all got it. So one thing about transcending the illusion is that when we use judgment, we are maintaining the illusion because we're maintaining that illusion that brawling bunch of dudes is bad and other than me. And we're using our judgment to keep us in separation from an aspect of our consciousness that we're actually trying to integrate right now so we can transcend it. I know that's a lot. So if you were looking, so for me, I'm a lover. I am a lover.
Yeah.
But I know that when I incarnated, one of the aspects of consciousness that I came to reconcile on a personal and collective energy level is the consciousness of war, right? And I'll get into this another time. But as a young kid, I wanted to join the military, and then I'm a total pacifist. Then it's all complicated. But so when I look at the story of war, like I hate it. Like I'm like, I want all the war to end, right? But if I stay in that hate and stay in judgment about anyone who's participating in war or, part of the storyline of war, I am actually staying in separation from an aspect of my broadened consciousness that I need to integrate in order to transcend it. The linear mind says to you that if you become one with something, you will become it.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's what keeps us in fear and in separation.
Yeah. And that's that's exactly what I was thinking. Like me judging these brawling dudes outside of whatever match, I'm in fear for my safety.
Yes.
Like not that I've ever even seen this, but let's say I have.
So you haven't even seen it? It's funny. But here's what the mind does. Because
right. In my mind.
In your mind, that's what football matches are, everyone brawling.
No. No, I mean, like, I haven't been in the parking lot when I've seen two people that couldn't let it go inside the stadium and they brought it into, I was thinking that, like, but meanwhile, it's getting, like, pretty sketchy in the parking lot because they're not letting it go. And, like, maybe this guy has a gun. Like, I haven't seen that.
Okay, but this is what's so interesting. That's why I'm going to keep pulling you up on this.
That's fine.
Because you actually haven't seen it.
Right. I have
but you imagine
so much
a
fear,
projected,
Georgia.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm afraid of so many things.
Yeah.
And violence to my physical body and others' physical, like that's one of the scariest things in the world to me. So I'm afraid for my physical body, even though I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And so you're saying, I don't want to say lean in, but lean into that fear to dissolve the fear.
That's exactly it. And to dissolve the
lean
stories
into
that create it.
Right.
Because it's about and why you might be imagining this stuff happening is because you can connect to that there has been violence in the history of humanity.
Yeah.
That fear has created. Innocent women have
gotten shot. Right.
Yeah, innocent bystanders have gotten shot. Women have been raped, stabbed, and murdered and pillaged historically. There is collective energy and I call these the planetary templates. So when I talk about war being one of my themes, it's a planetary template that I came into work with energetically to help clear it out of the planetary consciousness. But anyway, we'll get into that more later. So that fear that you feel, Melissa, because I would never go, well, you're being ridiculous that, you know, that's when I'm drawing your attention to the fact that you actually haven't seen it. What I'm doing is asking you to get back to what it is for you, because when it was a projection about dudes in a parking lot, you weren't owning that the energy is yours in a sense.
I was judging them.
You were judging and projecting it out there. And that's what people do. So that's exactly what I'm saying. Once you said, okay, I'm afraid and I feel this. Yeah. Now it's come back to you. And when it comes back to you, I'm getting my truth pimples. I know. Then you can actually work with it energetically. But what has happened in the world is that we use judgment, and this is what the mind does. It wants to keep us in separation because this is the mind's game. It projects that all out into the other, and it keeps us in separation from massive amounts of energy that we could be integrating with to become more energetically powerful, but also to bring forth the shifts that we actually want.
Yeah. So in my mind,
I know it's a bit of a mind melter.
It is, because at first, when you were talking before you went like big picture, like, you know, separating myself, by separating myself in my mind, of course, this isn't conscious until just this moment, I was staying safe. Right? By separating myself from the story, I'm staying safe. But
your mind thinks you're staying safe.
My mind thinks so, right. Yeah. But now you're telling me to give up that quote unquote safety to dissolve the story, the bigger picture, which is great. Yeah. The illusion, But it's like, but I've been safe this whole time. How can I do that?
Okay, so this is where it's so awesome.
None of this is real, right?
I know. And it's so great. So when I say that we have been governed by the primitive survival mind, that's all about our nervous system and our mind's idea of what safe is. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So our mind, getting back to the shift of consciousness, most of us incarnated at this time with a lot of human consciousness, which is like survival mind, linear time space, contracted reality, everything that I said before. So it's our mind's job to keep all of that other stuff out, right? Keep all the interconnected, multidimensional stuff, because this is the computer program that I'm running. Yeah. And anything that's outside of that, I'm going to flash the warning lights and be like, no, warning, warning, warning. And judgment is one of the ways the mind keeps us in its controlled space. Yeah. And it's going to use the survival aspect of the mind to keep you there. That's why it's saying, Melissa, it's really scary if you think differently about this. You won't stay safe. Yeah. You will get beaten up. Yep. If you love those people over there, if you love that, you're going to get murdered. Yeah. And it's the nervous system. People underestimate the power of how much the programming of our survival mind is controlling our consciousness. And this is why, for me, jumping out of a plane was one of the most important things that I have done in my work to understand this as part of the evolutionary shift. It might just sound like I'm like a naughty skydiver. But this is the work that we do. When you're afraid of the other, and again, talking about the bigger, broader reality that we're looking at right now, when we look at the polarity and the sense of otherness, Republican, Democrat, left, right, black, white, you know, all of it, him, her, all of this polarity is the mind's way of hanging on to the old version of consciousness that we've been living in. Sure. Because it's like, whoa, this is what's happening to our minds, basically. This is why the world is absolutely mental and crazy at the moment. The projection of reality is like just so disruptive because we're all born with this operating system. And then somewhere along the line, we said, all right, we're going to change the play. We're changing the play. Instead of blowing up the stage, as we did before with Atlantis, like, we're going to end this play now, bring in the floods, get the ark. We're actually going to go through this shift of consciousness. We're going to go from a cop show to science fiction, but we're not going to blow it up. What we're going to do is we're going to go through these systematic reprogrammings until we're existing in this new multidimensional space, interconnected, multidimensional, pretty much like totally different from what we've been operating in. But our minds and our nervous systems, sensing that this change is upon us, and there's all these frequencies and people like me and things like that that are bringing in this shift of consciousness, and it's getting seeded in movies. I don't know if these people know that they're doing it or not, but it's all part of it. We're going through this shift of consciousness. People are opening up left, right, and center to multidimensional abilities that they never had before, right? It is happening. I have people, women in the suburbs calling me up and be like, I don't know what's going on here. I was just a housewife and now I can read my neighbor's mind. What is happening? And I'm like, it's the shift of consciousness. You're moving from linear, 5 physical senses defined reality into multidimensional interconnected stuff. Yeah. But it's an adjustment, right? But our survival mind is trying to hang on and be like, fuck no.
Yeah.
We are staying in polarity. We're staying in linear mind. It is my job to keep you safe. Melissa, you know how to navigate linear space-time. You know how to navigate polarity-driven consciousness. I'm going to crank up the judgment now. I'm going to crank up the sense of otherness. I'm going to crank up the me versus them, because this is my last chance to keep a hold of your mind and keep a hold of the sense of reality. And this is why we talked earlier, why for people, even people who meet me, because I carry these frequencies, some people have really adverse reaction to me because just innately the energy that comes with me, this multidimensional stuff, is triggering people on an unconscious level to resist me, and it's something I have to try not to take personally, to resist this. Even people, even starting doing this podcast. Hey, sound guy, I'm going to talk about this story, which I didn't talk to you about before. When there's a sound guy who's helping work on this, and it seems like there's been like a lot of little challenges to try and just make the edit of the first show, right? And just put it together.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm communicating clearly and giving everything the deliverables, but I'm actually confusing the sound guy. And there was an issue that he was saying that the sound on the first show, there was something weird about it, and he didn't think we could use the first shows, and it's delayed everything. And at first, of course, I'm in linear mind going, what is going on? I don't understand. Like, I feel like I'm making this easy. But then we ended up having a conversation, and finally, it took a few weeks because there was all this confusion about it, right? So many. I'm like, I don't even, like, one of the other podcasts on Kiki's network already has like 12 episodes out. And I'm like, why? Yeah. Why don't we just have this first episode?
Yeah. What's with the holdup?
What's with the holdup? And then when I talked to him, because I said, well, maybe he's just not into this stuff, or he doesn't have a connection to it and he just doesn't get it. Then we finally talked, and he was like, yeah, I was just getting really confused. And then he was like, and on this recording, it's like, is there another sound like that's going on in the background? Because I feel like I can hear this other sound. And then I just started going into a trance while I'm listening to it. And I'm like, that's the energy. And then I got it to that his mind was getting disrupted.
An auditory person.
And he's an auditory person. So you guys, if you go back to, I think it's episode 3 or 4 now, I talk about how to develop your skills.
Yeah.
That if you have a strength in a certain area, you might start picking up multidimensionality in that area first. And this guy's a sound guy, he's auditory. So he is literally picking up on some other vibes that are layered in on that auditory level. He's hearing stuff that might not be heard by other people, because I'm like, it sounds fine.
Yeah.
Everyone at Vegas played this too.
Yeah, you played it for other people.
No one said anything about the sound. I'm like, what? And I was like, maybe your equipment's just too sensitive. I don't understand, but I think it's him.
His equipment. His ears were too sensitive.
His ego ears are too sensitive.
His mind's eye ears.
But this is what's great about this, is that this is a process, and it's something that I have to always remember to not take it personally, like not let my inner kids get upset when people have an initial resistant reaction to me personally or anything that I'm doing or saying, because this energy and this information is coming in and challenging the egoic construct so much that it's going, no, like, bless you.
I had a tickle.
She had a tickle. There's a little egoic resistant right there. But their minds are just resisting this shift that is happening. And I mean, getting back to the all consciousness, yes, I am creating it all, as are you, whatever. But it's people are trying to stay linear with it. Like this guy is saying it's the sound. In the linear story, there's a problem with the sound. Whereas now I'm realizing that his mind was doing all the disruptive, distracting stuff to stop him from being influenced by the frequencies in the recording. Because when we finally talked, we got close to talking, because I was like, maybe he's not into it. Because my mind is now, all agitated because I can't. My linear mind is like, I don't understand why this isn't just happening in linear time and space.
Yeah.
Then when we talked, so it's looking for excuses, then he's like, oh, I've actually been listening to it more. It's really cool. And so then when we finally talked, when we got together in the quantum reality, I think enough of the frequencies had worked through the resistance in his mind, because even though the mind wants to resist all this stuff is bigger than the mind.
Yeah.
So it just needs time to work through all the levels of the egoic consciousness that are resisting this, and then it can hear it. And that's why some of you will be listening to these shows, you may not be able to stay awake during them, because the frequencies that are coming through with this, even if I'm talking about the pea story, which sounds really basic, there are still frequencies being transmitted now that are shifting consciousness.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's all me, Georgia Jean.
Right.
I'm saying the energies that I work with, the intention of this, why the beings came to me, like, this is what we're doing. So if some of this stuff is confusing, if you're falling asleep, like the recordings on the website.
Oh, yeah. I totally fall asleep.
Yeah.
During those.
So, and what's really happening with that, there's kind of two things that are going on. You've got the old egoic system, including the survival mind. And this is why people get angry about this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when people were like meditation and yoga, people were like, that's for fucking weirdos. Like, they're mad at it. Like, you could be a serial killer and people would be less mad at you doing meditation or yoga, right?
Yeah.
People will notice that they get a bigger negative response from doing this than from something else that's way more negative. Why is it so threatening to people? Because the linear mind, the old survival programming, senses and knows on some level that this is about to change it. And it wants to keep things the same, because what is programmed into the nervous system becomes the known zone, and anything outside of that is a threat, So if you're going to do something like meditation, which is going to start dissolving away the known zone, or yoga or chanting or something as wacky as what I do, it's dissolving the known zone. The survival mind is like, fuck that. No way, not in this house. We can't have that here, because you're breaking the safety zone. And it's fascinating to watch. And that's why a lot of people, as they're approaching this kind of information. But the thing is, I'm not doing anything to anybody.
Right.
Your soul, or
Right.
your broader part of consciousness that wants this, is actually bringing you to it.
Yep.
So what you've got is, you've got this kind of war going on.
Yeah.
With expanded soul consciousness. It
Yeah.
feels like a war. I don't want to get too polar, but to be dramatic, to paint the picture for you, you've got the old survival consciousness trying to hang on to the old way. And let's look at how that's even playing out in the political story.
Yeah.
You've got the old guard versus the progressives who are coming in like, let's all love each other and share everything. And be, and be transgender, no walls, no boundaries, whatever it is, like sharing and, not hoarding, the survival mind, which is a hoarding, hang on to the resources. You've got the 1% who are so rich. Why do you need more money? Like all the progressive energies are like, why do you even need that much money? You not in a million lifetimes can you spend those billions of dollars when you've got people starving? But that is the stronghold of the survival mind. I must have all of it to survive, to conquer and destroy the invading armies and the invading whatever. So that's why these sorts of things are very, threatening to that. So you've got that playing out in the political spectrum, and you've got it playing out interpersonally and within ourselves. So within yourself, when your expanded soul consciousness is start saying, hey, we're upgrading. Things are going to get multidimensional here.
Yeah.
And you start on some level feeling that energy. You talked about you had like the tingling in the hands or something was going on, but with it comes like some anxiety. Like, what is that?
Right. Like in my mind, it's like I've been in this house and now like maybe I opened some windows. I don't know, but like the walls are falling down now, and it's like, put them back on.
Who am I?
Put them back on. Yeah.
Lock it back up. Lock it back up.
I changed my mind.
Slow it down.
Abort. Yeah.
Abort. But it's just happening with this shift of consciousness. That's why I had to come out of the cosmic closet, because people are losing their shit out there.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, you've got the survival and the old egoic mind resisting, and the big expanded soul consciousness moving in. And this creates pressure, creates intense psychological pressure for people. And that's really this sort of, like a lot of people go, I don't want to scare people about the awakening process, but when you are resisting, that is where the suffering is. And it can be quite, because your mind is being blown. It's literally going, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm looking for answers. I am overthinking. I'm overanalyzing this. Here comes the feelings of anxiety. Like, what is happening?
Right.
Trying to control.
Yeah.
But the soul is going, grow, grow, grow. And this is why often people go into a big crisis, some kind of healing crisis, before they will actually break open. It would be so much easier for me. So much easier for me as a healer and as an awakener of consciousness, if people heard those first whispers of change from the soul, when the expanded energy is moving in, and if people are like, I feel a little, I think I need a change, but I'm not sure what it is. But no, I think I better stay and keep everything the same. The pressure gets stronger. That's why when most people come to me, they're chronic. We're talking about, we're late stage cancer. We're in the middle of a nervous breakdown. Yeah. We're absolutely devastated because the mind's resistance to actually just opening it up. We've got a truck. Here's a bit of resistance coming in because I'm talking about such important stuff.
Crash my house down.
In the quantum reality, the resistance truck rolled up. It's funny because there's always some really distracting noise right when I'm about to drop some major truths. And that's the resistance from reality. Here it comes, people.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Listen to those whispers first, because then you can just start dissolving that resistance way faster.
Well, that's the problem, right? Because they're a whisper,
you
can overlook it
easily.
And because it's your linear thinking,
yeah,
you can't even make sense of the whisper. So you just kind of brush it off like,
yeah,
that was just a bad day. That was nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and you just think, well, I guess I can speak for myself, like, because I've had it where I just think like, oh, this is, this is just a slump I'm in, like, part of life.
Yeah.
But then it's no longer a whisper. And you're like, fuck, I wish I listened to those whispers, because now I'm in this, like, shitstorm.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always going to be probably a little bit of a shitstorm, if I'm honest here, because when we're talking about, and I've been through, even as open and working with the energy as I am, I have been through several very intense spiritual, what we would call a spiritual initiation. I really wish I could get rid of that word spiritual, but it is the useful word for now.
Sure, yeah.
But initiations into my next level of consciousness, where what is happening is the next big chunk of cosmic information is moving in. And even though I've done all this work and developed like a certain understanding of now, okay, reality is on this level, like I'm channeling spirit. It's like, I used to be a stand-up comedian. I just wanted a sitcom. Now I'm channeling spirits and healing pets and people. And, okay, bit of an adjustment with that one. Then you go along, then the next thing comes, right? And the next thing comes. And some of them might always seem to come in the form of a dude, which we'll get into that. And there's like zero fun in that. But the sign that you're initiating into your next level of consciousness is a period where you feel like you're losing your mind. Mm-hmm. And that is because at that level of consciousness, you cannot understand what is coming.
Yeah.
You're trying to make sense of what is still unknowable to you.
Right.
With the very thing that's keeping it all out.
Yeah.
So that is why you go through a crack of the mind, and surrender is the key, because the mind is always trying to keep in control. Even if it's like, okay, I understand about past lives now. Yeah, I know I'm not just this lifetime only. I understand about past lives. And then it's like, boom, but do you understand about, the all consciousness, or do you, are you there yet? So, even when the mind starts getting a bit of information, it might want to keep you in that story. So something that let's just say it is about a relationship, and you're like, but we've had all these past lives together. This should work out. Why am I suffering? I know we're soulmates. Now the mind, which is happy to keep you at the level of past lives, will keep your mind going round and round and round and round the story of past lives. Guess what? It fucking doesn't have anything to do with that. Why? And I have to swear with this because it's so out there. Mm-hmm. What you are going through at this now level of initiation isn't to do with you needing to understand about past lives or to do with past lives. And this is why the mind is super duper tricky, because it's saying, hey, if I keep you that focused on that you should be together because you've had these past lives together and you should be connected and blah, blah, then I can stop you going through your next level of initiation.
Yeah. But that was just you opening the windows.
That was you opening the windows. Yeah. And now exactly the walls are about to fall down. Yeah. They're trying to fall down. And you're like, what? Wait, I got the fucking windows open. All right.
Some fresh air, dude.
I got them open. And you can see like the cracks in the walls are coming. It's like, holy. So this is the big key, everybody. This is probably a very important episode to listen to if you're going through any of this stuff. Here is the big key. Accept that you don't know. Accept that you do not know what is happening. Accept that your mind at this level of consciousness doesn't know what is happening, and it doesn't know what's going to happen. All the guessing and imagining and thinking that you've got going on probably have nothing to do with what is going to manifest after you get through this shift of consciousness. And that's actually, when you work with it, why it's pretty cool, because that next thing that happens is so out of control magical. You're like, what the fuck? This happened? Finally, after you get through. Yeah. And you get through by surrender.
Yeah.
You get through by surrender. You've got to, no matter how wise you are, no matter how much work you've done, no matter how many books you've read, you don't know yet. It's not manifest for you yet. You don't know. Yeah. Surrender. Even though I don't know what the fuck is going on, or how to fix this, or how to change this, or how to stop this anxiety, or how to keep these walls up.
Yeah.
I'm giving this over. I'm surrendering this over to the part of me that does, because that's the part of your consciousness that already knows.
Yeah.
And it's not you. It's nothing that's embodied in you right now. Oof. Damn.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. So we're going through that individually.
Yeah.
And we're going through it with the planet. So when you're looking at the planetary mayhem and all these horrible things that look like they're happening, and people are trying to control it, or they're trying to use judgment. They're trying to say, well, look at those marauding people. Because remember, this shift of consciousness is activating the primitive mind, because that's the thing that we're dissolving.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, look at those, the evil terrorists. Well, the terrorists, are they white nationalists? Are they Muslims? Are they Jewish people? Are they, whatever. The mind keeps going. It's the other. The other is the marauding tribe, not me. But the thing is, the marauding tribe is just the projection of our primitive, unintegrated, primitive mind energy into the external quantum reality. Yeah. So the fastest way for you to take a big jump in consciousness is to recognize that you have to become a witness to it. This is the strongest thing you can do, is develop your witness. So there's like the little me that's in all the stories. You got the witness, and then you've got the expanded master consciousness. Is to witness that and go, okay, I see that I am projecting my primitive mind out into the quantum reality, or whatever it is, my hate, my anger, my shame, like, oh, look at all these negative vibey people. Like, that's like one of the biggest spiritual pitfalls, is when people get into positivity and they're spiritual and they're like, oh, all the neggy people out there. Yeah. And it's like, that's your unintegrated neggy energy. So love that. You've got to learn how to like love and accept. When you go, okay, I love and accept the part of me that's negative, doesn't mean you're going to become negative. That's what the mind is trying to tell you. It means you're integrating the energy that is in that projection of negativity. You're coming into oneness with it. Yeah. I love it. I'm no longer resisting it. I accept it. I accept that I am everything. Everything in the quantum reality is me. And then guess what? You get the freaking energy of everything. And that's when it becomes really powerful to work energetically, that you can start to bend the matrix.
Well, and I just realized, like, this whole episode started, you were going to say something about football, and I was like, well, hold up. Let me just talk about,
it's good.
The sports, but
the sports projection. So right now,
so I don't know what original thing you wanted to actually talk about.
Oh, we'll get to that. So the thing about, we will talk about my football team, but maybe now, not this episode. But the thing to recognize is, if you have charge around something, if you have judgment, or even if you have excitement, charge is energy. Yeah. And our mind will go, okay, it's negative energy or it's positive energy. Like, I'm when we have a crush on someone, right? Oh my God, that guy's so hot, or, oh my God, like, I'm so excited. That's probably a positive energy projection. And then we have our negative energy projections. But guess what? It's the same thing. It's all energy, and it's unintegrated. So a lot of the times when people you've got your, like, the icky soulmate aspects of the icky kind of primitive mind aspects of consciousness. And then you've got the, oh my God, he's so amazing, she's so amazing, the up on the pedestal level of consciousness, which happens a lot in the soulmate connection story. That is also your unintegrated energy. It's just in the positive spectrum. Yeah. So both ways you want to look at it. If it's got charge for you, and I go, I love and accept the part of me that is this negative projection. I love and accept the part of me that is this positive. It doesn't matter, because it's the mind that's saying it's good or bad, but really it's all just energy. And if we're going to actually come into union, we have to come into union with all energy. And when we do that, something else happens. It isn't what our minds say is going to happen linearly. If I go and, get involved with the brawling people, I'm going to get beaten up. If I get with the hot guy or gal, I'm going to be in love and happy forever. Usually neither of those things happen. Yeah. It's something else, which generally is more awesome. So, wow. That's a little introduction to the shift in consciousness.
Yeah. I'm like, so many things are swirling through my head about, like, just my own shit, like all my own fears, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm afraid of fighting. And people that I put in that slot in my mind, you know, like, oh, well, this person fights, so I can't even be their friend because I don't fight and I don't want to get into a fight. And,
Right.
you know, all these things that in my world, like in my mind, it's just, and like you said, it's about safety. This keeps me safe. That's not safe. I don't do that. I'm not going to jump out of an airplane. That's not safe.
Right.
I'm not going to go to a game because that's not safe. And even things like the mass shootings, you know, like Georgia and I don't live in a place where there's like, I mean, we live in Hawaii, right? So there's not as many people in the upper 48 here.
Right.
So I don't really think about things like, you know, like the Vegas shooting. Not that wouldn't happen here, because fucking shit happens everywhere. But when I think about large crowds, that's what the point I'm trying to make is large crowds. Where I'm not really in that situation because I live here and there's not that many people here. So a large crowd here is not like a large crowd in Los Angeles or Vegas or New York.
So this is really interesting. So what I'm hearing from what you're trying to say, and this is probably something that is different from us, is that your mind will go, you know, I'm safe if I stay away from all this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So if you hear about a shooting or something, the way your mind works is, let me assess my safety level.
Yes.
If I stay out of these highly populated cities, I won't get shot. If I do this, if I do that. And what that's actually doing is it starts contracting your reality.
Yep.
You start wiping out options left, right, and center.
Absolutely.
What I do now after what I've known is I sit with the energy of that experience that has charge for me, and I feel the energy of it. And I go, okay, I love and accept the part of me that is this experience. And then I use tools to purify that energy and I reintegrate it. And that stops me really from having fear about anything, and so my life can always keep expanding. Nothing puts me into limitation like that. And so it keeps happening. Things come up, but I've been studying this, so I know that is a useful way to operate and make my energy feel bigger, so I can so bigger things can happen.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
And I do that when I do that for me, I'm also doing it for the planet. I'm saying this is a phenomena like terrorism, right? I know this is going to blow people's minds. I go, okay, I love and accept the part of me that is that shooting, and I reclaim the energy that created that event and everything that feeds into that event. This is what being a planetary healer is. It's fun, right? And then I bring that energy into my heart and I use this purification tool. So I'm reclaiming the energy of this event that was created in my reality. I bring it into my heart and I purify it and I bring it back to pure energy. And then I re-imprint it with the heart blueprint to assist in creating the new reality, where we hopefully won't have terrorism, but maybe we'll have more awesome sports that people can enjoy. You know, that's the thing, is it isn't about, people talk about it, does this mean all religion's going to go and all this? I'm like, I don't think we'll necessarily get rid of all religions.
Yeah.
But will religions upgrade?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, is it possible that religion is, for people, is a way that they connect with consciousness? And people, we're here at the buffet of life. You can do it. It's like saying we're going to do all this work and then everyone's going to end up looking the same and we'll be exactly the same person. No, there's always going to be choice. There's always going to be variety.
Means we can all high five each other at the end of the day.
We can high five, and we're dissolving that consciousness that is underneath it all, which is the survival mind. The survival mind says, them, us.
Right.
I must kill them.
Yeah.
I must kill them.
Yeah.
But when you talk about a sport, right, now you're talking about an agreement, like two teams or two fighters, two tennis players, who agree to come on to this field consciously and play this game and evolve this game together. And they make something creative out of it. Oh, I'm truth pimpling all over here, right? So we don't have to, people don't be like, no, like this is bad or that is bad. We just go, it can all raise up. And maybe some things will go and there'll be new things that will come in. But we're here to have a beautiful creative experience.
Yeah.
You know, it does not have to be like a bummer. Like, no more football, guys, right? If we're going to be evolving, there will be no more sport. No. There's things that our mind doesn't understand what's going to happen yet. And we just accept that, surrender, go into the heart, love and accept. Boom. It's amazing how fast the anxiety will disappear and the fear will disappear when you work integratively rather than in resistance. So I think that's probably enough to melt
Chew
people's
on
mind.
that.
But yeah, chew on that, guys and gals.
Yeah.
This episode would probably be worth listening to a couple of times because it's like pretty layered with some concepts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm speechless and at the same time, like, so not done with this conversation.
There's so much more.
Which is why you need to subscribe and stay with us.
Yes, please subscribe. We're just scratching the surface of the Cosmic Closet right now.
Oh my God.
Head on over to Circle Evolution if you want to listen to some of the direct channelings that I got from the Circle of Light, which start talking about this whole shiznatch and what the hell's going on. And in those recordings, there are frequencies which will help dissolve some of the egoic resistance and help you come into union with these concepts more. So you can actually start living the cool part of the multidimensionality stuff, which is the getting to bend the matrix, the, you know, telepathy, you know, maybe the whole, like, I can transmute pee in my own body and just have more creative energy. Because people would say, it's pee, it's waste, it's bad. Guess what? It's just energy. Everything's just energy. All right, people, we love you. See you next time.
See you.
Coming up on the next episode of Coming Out of the Cosmic Closet.
Today I have with me a very, very serious guest. Her name is Vicky Barbalak. She was a finalist on America's Got Talent in 2018.
Yep.
I've actually been working with Vicky as well while she was going through America's Got Talent.
Right. You actually remember you helped me when I did America's Funniest Mom. And then I won America's Funniest Mom. We did one session where you felt like you felt a lot of the women comics that have gone on to
that's right.
the other side were with me. And I like when
here they are again, True Pimples.
And I just feel like when, like last night, when I just felt the energy, the love in the room, I just felt like I was just holding up like my hand and it was going right up to those women that came before me. And I just float out of myself and then the set happens and it just